Welcome to Houston Sports Talk with your host, Robert Land.
Thanks for checking into the best Houston sports podcast, part of the National Bleav Network, and joining me for some perspective on new Rockets pickup Dorian Finney-Smith is one of my oldest friends, Steven, who also happens to be the man behind the #1 Lakers fan site, LakersGround.net. Always good to see you, Steven. And can you give me some traffic numbers on Lakers Ground just to give our fans a little bit of a perspective on how big this is? I can't imagine what happened the night of the Luka trade.
Yeah. So we've been around for it's almost 25 years now. So that's about 60,000 registered users, 9.1 million posts on there. So a lot of talk. And yeah, when the Luka trade happened, it was like I was like everybody else, like, wait, what? What is this? Is this real? You know, doing that. And for sure the site kind of blew up, and with everyone else trying to figure out if it was real or not, and then trying to process it. And then, of course, as Laker fans or any basketball fan do, you immediately start trying to rebuild the roster right around it after processing it for a few minutes.
What can you tell Rockets fans about what to expect from Dorian Finney-Smith? Because it sort of has gotten lost in the headlines with KD, but obviously that's another big acquisition for the Rockets this offseason.
Yeah, I think it's a great acquisition. I know. So last year we traded D'Angelo Russell, picked up Doe. Our defense improved immediately. I mean, it was just noticeably better. Now, whether that's addition by subtraction with D'Angelo going out or not, but really Dorian Finney-Smith allowed us to switch 1 through 5 a lot of times. Kind of the big deal for us because we lost our starting center, and so we had to have some flexibility in the roster. So I would say that defensive flexibility is just huge. You guys are already a deep team to begin with now, after this offseason, but having someone who you can fit in on any given night in any sort of scenario you want, that's him. He was second on our plus and minus, I think, after Luka. I think because of that versatility and that flexibility, you're able to find the best spot, how you can help the team on any given night. So Rocket fans, you're going to love that for sure. Offensively, I think a lot of fans, they're looking at the box score and they're only going to see like a few points every night, and they might judge his game by that. But you just notice the difference in him being that one of those glue guys that just brings everything together for the team, and being one of the responsible adults in the room, on any given night as well.
Is there anything you learned about him you didn't know before he came to LA? Were there any Finney-Smith surprises?
Definitely just loved how he fit in any situation. I was surprised we were able to use him as versatilely as we were. Some nights it'd be like, hey, we're throwing him on the point of attack. You get the 1. Other nights it'd be like, okay, we're going to put you on the 5, right? And normally you're thinking of him as maybe like a guy who's going to cover the 3-4 spot. But being able to do that and then seeing our defense, just instantly gel on any given night because of that just made a huge difference. Guys like that, you can't have enough of them, I think, in the league.
What do you believe is behind Finney-Smith being in Houston instead of LA right now?
We obviously needed some big holes because the Luka trade, left us without a center, basically. Jackson Hayes isn't going to hold down that spot. And obviously in the playoffs, we kind of saw that play out where, his weaknesses were exploited. For us, having pulling in DeAndre Ayton, pulling in Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia, those were kind of all different positions that Doe filled basically one night to another. He may not do them as high level as some of those guys in a particular spot, but I mean, that was just huge for us on any given night when we were going through this big trade where our team was very unbalanced, and he brought a lot of balance to it.
When you look at what the Rockets did, we're going to get into kind of where they are right now after the offseason, but just specifically the Kevin Durant trade. What did you think as a Laker fan when you see Kevin Durant going to Houston?
Yeah, I like this fit a lot better. When the Suns trade and all that went down, you're looking at all the names, and a lot of times people get scared of that, but it just felt like that wasn't a good fit. Here you've got a lot of athleticism and length on the floor all around him. I think that's going to just be huge. Now you've got someone who can be a go-to closer, in the highest stakes. With LeBron, being his age, what you want around him is a lot of youth, a lot of athleticism, a lot of young guys who can run the floor and stuff. Because LeBron's not switching it. He's not doing all the little things he used to do quite as much. So you need a lot of that young energy around him. So I think you guys have that, and you guys have all that length. It's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. But I think it's a good fit.
Did anybody in the West, in your mind, or even in the NBA, have a better offseason than Houston?
I like what Denver did for sure. Just a small couple changes there that I think will help them. On the Lakers standpoint, we haven't really talked about it, but new ownership I think is actually going to be huge for the Lakers. The longest time we were kind of dealing with the bus pocketbook, which is very small. We're losing a lot around the margins. We weren't able to compete with other teams in these non-salary cap kind of things. So now being able to change that out with Mark Walter's pocketbook is going to make huge difference for us long term. It's hard to understate how important that'll be, I think, for the team going forward. So immediate results, yeah, maybe you won't see it, but I think, kind of like with the Dodgers, you saw it kind of ramp up over time. Obviously, different collective bargaining agreements and things like that to deal with. But I think that was kind of a huge shift for this franchise, going forward as well. But now, yeah, the Rockets, incredible offseason. You guys are going to be strong. Oklahoma retaining all their guys, paying out the cash. They're just going to get better. They aren't going to get worse until the bills get too expensive, I think. But
it helps to start your offseason with the championship parade and then signing 3 of the best players on your team and all, very young and heading into their prime.
Yeah, exactly. So not losing any ground there. That's hard to compete with, for sure.
When you look at the Rockets, do you see a weakness from the perspective of somebody that's got to play the Rockets out West? Is there anything that you see that, you feel like is exploitable?
I don't know. I worry about like a key injury or something. Like if KD can't play for, half the games, how much is that going to hurt? I mean, obviously you lose any of your main players, it's going to hurt, but you kind of wonder about that, what's going to happen to the team there. But I don't know. You guys gave us trouble last year, I felt, probably more so this year, just with all that length. I feel like that's going to play out really well. It depends on how you guys use it all, but you've got so much flexibility in that roster, so many different looks you can give if you're using it, that from night to night, you'll be able to kind of shift gears really, really well. It'll be difficult to compete with for sure.
Yeah, every time we talk about it, I just get more excited. I'm like, let's get to the season already. I can't wait for this one. We got to hit the latest on Luka, that news. But before we do, just want to remind our listeners and ask you guys, where do you put the Lakers in the Western Conference hierarchy? What other Rocket storylines or content should I hit this offseason? I want some feedback from you guys. As always, let me know in the YouTube comments. Look for our YouTube shorts. I'm putting up shorts all the time. So if you need a quick break at work, check them out. Don't forget that with the Texans preseason starting a week from Saturday, I'm once again doing live Texans postgame shows, but instead of right after the afternoon games, the tentative plan is going live at 9 p.m. the day of the game. So that night, so you get a chance, if you're hanging out with friends or you're at the game, you can now join us live Saturday or Sunday night and ask us questions, get in the conversations. Make sure also to subscribe on YouTube and get those notifications so you get updates on the post-game shows. You also want to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app. All right, Stephen, you've spent most of your life in California, so you know the cliche on the California health transformation. So are you a believer in Skinny Luka?
You know what? This time of year, this is the part of fandom where people are looking at the photos, right? And they're like, oh, check out so-and-so's body. They're looking great. Oh, look at all the work they're putting in. And so I'm really usually very, very skeptical of all that, because it's just like, okay, that's just sort of wishful thinking a lot of times. I don't know. Cover of Men's Health, he looked pretty good on there. So Skinny Luka, I think Luka's having a great offseason. I think looks like he's putting in the work. We got him a good enough big man that'll fit with him in Ayton. It's hard to understate just how limited our ability to run Jackson Hayes out there, who couldn't do a bunch of different things offensively, how that limited Luka's game. I think this will open parts of his game back up too. So Skinny Luka's looking good. That's a great read if you haven't read it. And Men's Health, just talking about his workout regime and the kind of things he's working on. I think he's had an excellent offseason. We're all looking forward to seeing that play out versus kind of the Luka we got coming off injury with a team that had holes already, was kind of difficult to navigate. So much better starting place, I think, this year.
I'm going to go on a little rant, because the one thing that bugs me about this Luka story isn't Luka. It's the fact that I've got to listen to way too many sports media acting like they know anything about diet and health. And I can't stand the flippant comments about losing weight and, whatever they're talking about health wise. Luka said he's doing the intermittent fasting and focusing on a low carb diet. As somebody who's dealt with a mountain of gut issues myself and health problems over the years, I've personally done a mountain of research on this. Stephen knows this because he's heard me talk about it. And what Luka's doing should be the norm for everybody. Every functional or nutritional expert agrees with this, Stephen. This is basically Ozempic without the potential side effects. And by the way, nothing wrong with the GLP-1 peptides in some cases, but if you can do it without those, that's the ideal scenario. And that's what he did.
Yeah. And I think too, like the stage in his career where, like, you remember when we're young, we could do whatever and eat whatever. But at some point it catches up to you in your 20s. I think we even saw Kobe, who's maniacal with his workouts and stuff, but he also kind of realized at some point, oh, I'm going to have to do some of these extra things that, like you said, this should be kind of what we're all hoping for is in our regular diets. Yeah, if you want to rant more on the American health system and American diet and just how disruptive that is to our bodies, feel free, because I'm right there with you. I'm glad he's taking it seriously. Really looks like this past season and going forward.
I would also say, hey, the food's better in Texas, so probably one of the things that prevents you from getting this type of stuff done when you're in Dallas is, and even Dallas, I mean, I'm a Houston guy, but even in Dallas, I would say you got some pretty good food. I know LA, they got some restaurants and stuff like that.
Yeah, there is a health mindset out here, but I don't know if Luka's been eating too much barbecue, well, in Texas or something after doing his off-season workouts, but certainly, yeah, we aren't the barbecue capital of the world. It's
not the barbecue, it's the stuff probably that goes along with the barbecue is great. I mean, the meat is what he's doing and what he should be doing. He's talked about that, he's eating a ton of protein and meat. There's just other stuff. I think if you're doing the Tex-Mex stuff, and I don't think there's, my personal belief is I've been down to LA a bunch of times. Stephen knows this. There's no comparison with Tex-Mex. And, that means typically, a lot of tacos and bread items, I guess, along with that at times too. So I think that's part of the equation. With Luka, what did you see with him last year? Did he look just sort of not the same guy with the injury? Is that what it basically came down to, or was it just his supporting cast and other things that were bigger factors there?
It definitely took him a little bit to ramp up to where he'd have those big Luka type of games. I do think though, like it's really hard to understate just how difficult it is for him when he's got, say, not to pick on Jackson Hayes, but he was our only choice at center. Basically having a defender switch now on Luka, and you can't take advantage of putting guys in jail like he likes to as much, getting him on his hip, reading the floor, because Jackson Hayes couldn't abuse the mismatch down low. It would be like, you can't throw him the ball for a post up. He's not going to pull anyone out of the lane. So it really limited Luka's game offensively. And we saw that play out in the playoffs. Any kind of weakness that you've got on your team is going to be exploited. And so it kind of played Jackson Hayes off the floor to a point where, well, now we don't got any center at all. That was really Dorian Finney-Smith kind of filling in some of the link there, but we couldn't compete with that. Just having that AD trade where we just lose this major piece, and we kind of still need to reset that in this offseason. The trade kind of continues. So losing Doe was kind of part of the process of this trade. He has to go out in order for us to have the space to be able to, or the tools the cap tools to be able to add Ayton, Smart, and LaRavia to the mix to fill a bunch of those holes we had. Once we get balance into the game on the floor, he's going to have more balance into his game and have access to all his tools and strengths much better going forward.
We're going to come back to some Rockets stuff for the listeners, so don't go anywhere because we're going to talk a little bit of Lakers right now. But what did you think of their offseason moves? You teased it a little bit, but DeAndre Ayton, Jake LaRavia, Marcus Smart.
Well, first off, we absolutely had to get a center in there. I think Ayton, he's gets picked on, rightly so, for some things, but he's also coming back from an F grade playmaking in Portland now to A grade playmaking again, which we kind of saw a lot of that when he was with Phoenix, that really activated parts of his game offensively. He's going to solve some of those issues that I talked about with Jackson Hayes, with posting up, being able to hit a turnaround occasionally when he's got those mismatches. Also, his mid-range game is just money, so that's going to help out a lot just on its own. That's filling a huge hole for us. He's going to do that better than like Dorian did for us, right? So we got the big in there. Marcus Smart, if he's healthy, it's exactly what we need. We needed that versatile defender to fill in around Austin Reeves and Luka. So as long as he's healthy, he can cover 1 to 3. JJ likes to switch a lot, so Smart, if he needs to switch on a play, he can hold his own in the post a little bit, with his strength. But that was kind of a big move for us to just get in those two. Jake LaRavia fills that Dorian role at the 3-4 spot. Good upcoming defender. Give us 3-ball range there, more offensive power than I think than Dorian gave us. So a lot going on there. I'd still like definitely a backup center. If you guys could spare one, that'd be great. we could certainly use it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I've heard a couple of people say that they weren't so sure that Jordan Godwin wasn't better than Marcus Smart. So just dropping him for Marcus right now, and I don't know what to expect from Marcus Smart anymore. I know where he is health-wise. That one right there, I'm not so sure. I mean, he's not expensive, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, Jordan, he did a lot of things well, but he is nowhere near like Smart. Will move the ball much better, reads the floor much better. Jordan, they left him open for sure from 3. He doesn't have quite the trigger Marcus Smart has. There's just so many little things that Smart's going to do better. The question is, will he be healthier? That's what you hope, that he comes in, stays healthy, gets back on track, because he's just couple seasons off of his Defensive Player of the Year season. So we'll see. We'll see if he can get back on track.
Where do you think the Lakers fit in the conference hierarchy at the moment?
I don't know. We finished third last year, but really, 2 or 3 games could have shifted that multiple ways. I think we've gotten better. We're going to have more time with Luka on the floor. We had to shift our lineups quite a bit last season, and JJ, being a rookie coach, did a good job, but there was never a moment where it was able to build a lot of chemistry within that team because of all those shifts and changes, and some of them very dramatic. So I think having that training camp and that prep, and now a little bit more balance into the roster, I think that's gonna help out a lot. So we should be right up there like we were last year, but health is always a big issue, especially when you got old man like LeBron out there. Hopefully he holds up as he has been.
Where do you put the Rockets in the West right now? Are they 2, 3, 4? I mean, where do you have them?
I would probably say that 2-3 spot. I really do like what Denver did, but I think you guys have so much depth. I would probably lean into 2 spot, where you guys could absorb an injury or 2, during the regular season and still rack up W's. So I think that's going to be huge for the regular season. So I imagine you'll be right there. Who knows what Oklahoma's young. Are they going to be as hungry off of winning the championship? Teams usually aren't, but I don't know. They seem to be built a little different than some of the others.
You mentioned you needed a center. So that brings me to this question. I'm guessing Capela is somebody that you checked out as a Laker fan, considering their need for a center. What do you think about Capela at this point in his career when you started looking at where he is right now?
Yeah, still a lob threat, maybe not as much as before. Still very good rebounder. You guys have so much length there, though, that you're probably going to be able to find matches that you lean into them a little bit more or a little less and be fine. So I think your versatility on that team and your ability to solve problems on a night-to-night basis, he'll probably be put in good positions for him.
This is something I've been wanting to ask you. I don't even think we've talked about this on the phone or anything. Austin Reeves, how good is he? And do you think he's still a Laker a year from now?
I think he's still a Laker a year from now. I think we had some difficulty again with not having a center later in the season, where that hurt his games for some of the same reasons it did impact Luka. But when LeBron and Luka have been out and he's just given the ball, he's put up some amazing games, carried the team against some big teams. So he can definitely carry a team for time. He makes winning plays all the time. He's kind of like the sort of Manu type of player where you want him in there at the end. Maybe not as many things that drove Pop crazy about with Manu, but still the guy you kind of worried about at the end because he'll hit a big shot or make a big play. Defensively, there's a question on, can Luka and AR fit together defensively? How will that work? And that may be, the question on, do you think he'll stay in this offseason or not? I think they're going to try and keep him for sure. I don't know what the price tag is going to be. The only reason I would say they wouldn't keep him is they are equipped for a lot of big cap space. And if something huge came along, fell in their lap, yeah, maybe there could be something there. But I think they love him. Think they love his work ethic, just how efficient he is when the game's on the line.
He's a pretty high IQ player. Is there still upside for him defensively? I mean, can he get better?
Maybe on the IQ side, I don't know how much stronger he's going to get. If he can get a little stronger, that might help for sure. It may also depend a little bit on how the team's constructed around him. He had to take on a lot of point of attack, top players in the other team, and that's going to wear you down a little bit offensively too, being able to do that. So having a guy like, we had Gooden be able to do that, but Gooden couldn't just quite compete. He wasn't quite a rotation player is the issue. Smart, if he's around and he's kind of that rotation player that you could fit aside AR and ease some of the burden for him. So we were asking a lot of him defensively on any given night. So I think just some of those pieces around him, if we can ease up a little bit on that, are going to help his game a lot. But he's definitely a willing defender. He may have had a reputation early on for flopping to deal with some of the strength issues, but he kind of really reeled that in the past year and a half or so and just, made sure he was playing a little bit more straight up with the refs so he wasn't building that reputation. Yeah, he's got some tools to handle some of his weaknesses, but I don't know if he's going to improve too much in that regard on the defensive end.
Yeah, because it's not like he's not that good of an athlete. I mean, I think he's a pretty good athlete, for, and the sizes there's stuff that I feel like you should be able to build off of, but I don't get to see him regular enough to go, okay, what's not working about him defensively. By the way, you could tell that this is not a major national network or East Coast, West Coast network, because we're roughly 25 minutes in, and I haven't mentioned that guy LeBron James at all. And but I do want to ask you, because one of the toughest things for me with LeBron his whole career is, and what's made him to me sort of unlikable, is just there's always got to be this drama. It's something's always got to be going on. So he's always got to have some off season, whatever, or during the season, just something's always there. Do you ever get even as a Laker fan, do you ever get exhausted by the LeBron drama?
Well, I'm a very patient person, so I can deal with whatever. And I'm a longtime Laker fan. If we don't have drama in the mix of some type, whether it's Shaq and Kobe or Magic Kareem or, there's always some type of drama always in the mix in there. So I'm pretty used to that. I know some Laker fans, especially with the national media, LeBron, scratches his head or something, and it's going to be a story, that they'll make up. We've had to go through that with Kobe, where it's just, you had people, reading his facial gestures and things like that, and then developing whole story off of that, where it's just like a little bit of lunacy with some of the reporting going on now. So LeBron, now you've got social media in the mix. He can make a post about something or a picture about something. And there's going to be a whole media cycle around that. So yeah, that can drive anyone crazy. But I do think in LA, you should be used to it. If you're not, you haven't been around long enough, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. I mean, in LA, I'm sure it's the norm, but as an outsider, as somebody that wants to like different players that are really great players, it's one of those things it's always been hard for me, because it just feels like he wants to be the GM and owner, and he's a lot of times not very good at that. If you've seen his record with like who to get rid of, and he's always wanting to change. I mean, in the Cleveland days, I sort of got it, but there were times since then I don't get it.
Well, there's a whole lot going on with him, just on this last year of his deal, and so that's just there's going to be speculation for the rest of the year, and it's going to drive everyone crazy, I'm sure. Anything that LeBron does is going to be now viewed through that lens, and people are going to run with it. So it's not going anywhere away anytime soon. So I guess just hang in there.
That's the LeBron thing. Lakers and Rockets, tons of connections over the years. Dorian Finney-Smith will be the 58th NBA player, according to Basketball Reference, who's played for both the Rockets and the Lakers, and some huge names on that list: Dwight Howard, Robert Horry, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, and Ron Artest. But a name that won't be on the tip of Stephen or my tongue is Glen Rice. And when I worked on the Rockets production many, many years ago, I had Glen Rice mic'd up for a game against one team the Lakers and Rockets agree to dislike. I'm pretty sure Stephen will be nodding his head when I say the Karl Malone, John Stockton, Utah Jazz. That's who they played in this mic'd up game. And I got lucky because Steve Francis won the game on a last-second shot. Here's just a little tease of Glen Rice mic'd up during that game. This is good.
We only up 7. Oh, Lord have mercy. Look here. You come in my shooting count? This something? Hook you up, What you shooting at? You don't even know. See, I can help you out already. Oh, Lord have mercy. Get on. You can't let him sit there and set up. No, sir. Yeah, Kato. What made you need that? Oh, no. You cannot leave him. Oh, yeah. Oh, hit it. Good pass. Oh, yes, Kato. Yes, baby. That's ball game.
That was great. Stephen, for those who don't know, that was Dan Lange that Glen Rice was trying to convince to go to a shooting camp. Do you remember that guy?
I do not.
Vanderbilt guy. Lange was a Vanderbilt guy. Didn't last with the Rockets that long. Just a kind of, I think 1 or 2 year guy. By the way, if anybody wants to watch this full feature, it's on the YouTube, my YouTube Rockets history playlist. And Stephen, we went into the Jazz locker room after that game. Stockton and Malone, you'll be surprised to find out, not the nicest guys, especially after a last-second loss.
Yeah, the charisma there was a little cold.
Did you have to swallow hard when Malone joined the Lakers?
That was rough. I will say it gave me some new respect for parts of his game. I didn't know he was as good a passer as he was, which was interesting. But yeah, no, he was that was like the enemy, right? And we had Gary Payton and Karl Malone came in that year, and we lost in the finals to Detroit. Karl Malone was injured. So if he was healthy there in that final series, yeah, who knows what would happen, and how I'd feel about it. But we didn't get a ring. It didn't work out that well. And then there was kind of a spat between him and Kobe at some point. It kind of ended the relationship.
Flopton and the Flail Man. That's those two for us in Houston. Vernon Maxwell approved that particular video clip for sure. One of the things I don't think we've ever talked about this, but what is your most memorable Rockets Lakers game over the years? Is there one that comes to mind?
Yeah, why do you gotta mention this? Why are you bringing this up? So I can picture, Ralph Sampson flipping in a shot at the last second and Michael Cooper crumbling to his knees. That would probably be the game that I remember. Like I said, a long time Lakers fan from the Showtime days. That was just brutal. So thanks, I appreciate that.
I didn't know that. I wasn't sure you were going to go there. It's funny you say that because I just last week had my interview with Rodney McRae. I did an interview with him about, I don't know, it's like around 8-9 years ago, I think. And one of the things that we talked about was, of course, the pass on the Sampson shot. At the time, do you know who Rodney McRae was coaching when I interviewed him? I don't know if we've talked about this. He was coaching Jared Vanderbilt.
Oh, wow. Okay. Current Laker. Excellent.
Yeah. So, it's just a great interview. If anybody's missed it last week, go check out that interview. Just lots of good stuff. He talked about playing with Michael Jordan in one of the championship years that he had with Jordan, talked about his days at Louisville, 3 finals and 4 seasons, a championship with Denny Crum and those guys. And of course, plenty of conversation about those 80s Rockets and Akeem and Ralph Sampson and all that stuff. Just really cool that I got a chance to sit down with him for a pretty good while. And there was more to that interview that I didn't have from last week, but it was just stuff that we were talking about, more current Rocket stuff. But that was fun. Looking forward to this year, Steven. Can't wait to see, what the Lakers look like after some of the moves that they've made, but more importantly, the Rockets. And it should be fun when these two teams hook up and, maybe we'll see them once again in the playoffs. It's been a few years. I think the last time Westbrook was on the Rockets.
Yeah, we had Westbrook and we didn't guard him. So that made it easy for us to, send extra help to Harden. And, but then we traded for him, even though we knew this. And turns out same thing happens to us. Who knew? There was that series. And then we had when Ron Artest was on the Rockets there for a brief stint before he came to the Lakers. That was a fun series as well.
Yeah, the series that really frustrates me is that one back, and I think it was it was 08 or 08 or 09 when the Rockets and the Lakers faced each other. And within the first 2 games, Yao goes down. We had already lost to Kimbe in the first round. We had no McGrady, and we still took the Lakers to 7 games. And you guys won the championship. We took them to 7 games, and this was like Chucky Brown was playing center. Kyle Lowry was maybe starting, and then Aaron Brooks was coming off the bench at point guard. And, it was a lot of guys like Carl Landry and, we had some scrubs.
That's a feisty bunch of players there.
Oh yeah. It was a fun team. And what's also interesting about that team was the coach at the time was Rick Adelman, and his son did a hell of a job this year with the Nuggets coming in, and can't wait to see what he's able to do with them. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's good to see you, and thanks for doing this. We'll talk again soon, man.
Yeah, all right. It was fun.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.
Hey, don't forget to support us by subscribing and commenting on YouTube. You can always listen to us on Spotify, Apple, or your favorite podcast app. Tell your friends about us and share our show links on social media. Spread the word, everybody. Thanks for listening.